I'm Karen, and I'm doing an around the town clip for Jay. So here goes. First question, what does the term self-care mean to me? To me, it's really about balancing between being selfish and selfless. So I need to find time to prioritize things that make me feel good so that I can be my best self to other people. Second question, what is something I do consistently for self-care? So easy answer there is definitely exercise. So I try to get at least 10,000 steps a day, so on my treadmill or walking outside. And I take a kickboxing class twice a week and a body pump class twice a week. And just the exercise kind of clears your mind and makes you feel good. And, you know, you're taking care of your health, your physical health and your mental health. Last question. What have I watched lately that I enjoyed? Landman was great. We also rewatched 1923 because the new season is coming out. And Fire Country was really good too. So those are my answers. Thank you.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Eastern Shore Talk, your podcast for all things self-care movies. If this is your first time joining us, we're glad to have you. We are on the Big 50, episode 50. And I am Jay Watson.
I'm Cathy Castle. I was excited by 50. I'm sorry.
Well, it's good to hear the word 50. It's been a while since you and I heard the word 50. So we're glad to go back to 50.
Yeah.
And if you guys have been listening, you know that 50 is a big deal in the podcasting world. Only 11% of podcasts make it 50 episodes. So Cathy and I are making a big deal about it because it is a big deal to get to 50 episodes.
I don't know what we've talked about 50 times, but it's been a lot.
And we are thrilled to have Miss Shannon Logan on, Coach Shannon Logan on, who, as you guys have heard, I have like a love-hate relationship with social media. But the love side of the social media is the people like Shannon who I've connected with in the self-care world. And I kind of connected with Shannon through social media 2 or 3 years ago, back when she was a gym owner at the time. And she was doing the personal training both in person and online, and she was kind of in that mode of self-care. She's kind of branched out into some other things, and we are thrilled to have Shannon along. And Shannon, won't you kind of
welcome.
Talk about who you are, kind of the story behind where you've come from, your struggle to strength, and let everybody know who you are.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jay. Thank you so much, Cathy, for having me on today. I'm super excited to be here. Yeah, so story. I have come in the last probably 3 years especially, to start to lean into the fact that my mess is my message. And I love what you said, Jay, there about struggle to strength. I think that's really, really powerful. And along that same line, as we start off, I just want to let you guys know, and also people that tune in, that as we go through the show today, you might hear me get caught up on some words. And that's actually because I'm a person that was born with a stutter, and I've had it my whole life. As a kid, it used to be really bad, and I was in speech therapy for, the first decade of my life or so. And I've come to, accept that's part of who I am, just like my red hair and my brown eyes. And it sticks around a little bit these days when I get anxious or fearful or just tired or just, I don't have enough breath in my lungs. And so if you hear me get caught up on words, it's not because I don't know what I'm talking about. And it's not because I'm worried or I'm uncomfortable. It's just part of how God made me, and up until probably 3 years ago, I did everything I possibly could to hide and run from it and pretend like it wasn't there. And I would say that's a good theme across the board. I came
pause you for a minute?
Absolutely, for sure.
I'm so glad that you said that. Okay, for starters, I would never have picked that up, but so you're doing a good job of
well, thank you. Navigating.
Right?
Yes.
But
yes.
Well, another reason why I'm glad that or really the main reason I'm glad you brought that up is because I bet you there are so many people that are self-conscious about whatever. I mean,
absolutely.
I could give you a laundry list, like a scroll of things that I personally would say about myself. But, we always think people are picking up on that. So I'm glad that you brought that to the attention of anybody listening, because there could be a lot of people out there that might have something like that they're experiencing. And you're just like, let me bat that right out of the ballpark right now and say, this is what I'm dealing with. It's as beautiful as my red hair. And
Right.
here
Yeah.
we are. So I love that. Thank
Well,
you.
Well, thank you. And it's one of those things that I've learned through the journey of life, that the more we hide, the more we suffer. And every single person on this planet is going through something.
You have some lines I want to write down.
Well, lucky for you, it's recorded. So you can go back and listen.
Podcast, Shannon. She doesn't watch our podcast.
Well, maybe she will now. You get extra viewership now, right? Yeah. I had a view up until about the time I turned 30 that I had to give this perfect front, this white picket fence front. And I can't exactly say why. It could just be society. It could be that I'm a little bit type A. I might struggle from some anxiety. I was raised Catholic, so we could go into that. I mean,
we're female. We think we got to be perfect.
Exactly. A certain size, a certain shape, all of it. And when I was turning 29, and on the outside, things looked really, really good. So I was married. My husband was in the military. We had a Naval Academy wedding. We had a house in downtown Annapolis. Walking distance to other shops and bars. I had graduated grad school on a full ride to GW. They actually paid me. They actually paid me to go because I taught while I was there. And I was just about to open my business, my first business, my own business. I was 29. Everything looked awesome. And inside I was freaking drowning. I was like having panic attacks and anxiety attacks and putting on this front because behind closed doors, my marriage was crumbling. No one knew, not my parents, not my best friend, no one. I was drinking too much to cope with things. And I was just riddled with so much fear and so much anxiety. And I was 29, and I really believed. I was really set on the fact that that's how it was going to be. That was just how life was going to be. And by God's grace, I hit a bottom, and someone came alongside me and said, "Hey, look, you don't have to stay in this." I started to kind of peel back the layers and just tell her one piece here and one piece there. And then the floodgates kind of opened. And, she had gone through some substance abuse in her life. So she had been introduced to the 12 steps and was like, hey, you don't have to stay in this chaos. There's a way out. And, I'm grateful that all those three things happened at the same time in terms of I stopped drinking. I left my husband and I started my business all at the same time. And,
that's a lot of change.
And by the way, I don't like change. I've never been a person
experiencing the anxiety and the panic.
Yep.
I wanted to ask you, I don't mean to keep interrupting your story.
No, please do.
Great one. But I always think when somebody's telling their story, which I'm so incredibly grateful for storytelling because it does save lives. I did not coin that, but storytelling does save lives. But did you have the anxiety prior to being in the situation where you were married and living in Annapolis, starting your business? Did you have a history of that, or was that something you just had discovered at that point in your life?
I did have a history of it. So I've had anxiety my whole life in some regard.
So it was something you were familiar with. It wasn't just bam, it happens. Okay.
But it exploded. It exploded. And I was having panic attacks probably twice a week. Wow. And if you've ever had one, they're not fun.
Wow. I haven't personally, but what I've watched people have it, or I've heard people talk about it, it almost resembles a heart attack. It's physically.
You get really sweaty too. It's hard to breathe. You're frantic.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing.
Yeah, for sure. And that was not normal. I would say I have low grade anxiety in general, just who I am again. But at that point, it was not manageable to say the least. So all of that happened. But by God's grace, I said, hey, I need help. I put my hand up and I was like, help me. And so I started to work a program of recovery. I stopped drinking. I started to open up what was actually happening behind closed doors. And it was like this, it was scary as hell because I was convinced that people would, judge me and shun me and like do all the things that, yeah, exactly, that we're all scared of because we're all just kids inside. But I was also being the real me for the first time in a really long time. And I started my business, which I was super passionate about. So like, I started to kind of feel like, holy hell, like I can do this. Like I'm walking in authenticity and it feels good. And I can actually like say what I want to say, do what I want to do, be who I want to be. And it was the first time in a long, like probably, I don't know how long, maybe the first time in my life that I felt that comfortable in my own skin. And so fast forward, like it's been a crazy 10 years. My business did really well. I met a boy. We got married. We have a daughter now. She just turned 4. She's incredible.
Follow her on your Facebook page.
Yeah, she's the best thing ever.
She's
the
adorable.
She's awesome. And then so go back to 2020 when pandemic hit, my business was like thriving, man.
Because was it a gym? Was that the gym?
It was a gym. Yep. I owned a CrossFit gym, a CrossFit style based gym, but we did a ton of personal training, and nutrition coaching, and some.
Because some people with gyms did not fare well during pandemic,
right? So like right before that hit, we were crushing it. I had an 11,000 square foot space when COVID hit.
Wow.
And I had 200 plus members, 240 members. And then COVID hit. And we all know what COVID was like for everyone. And then you put it gym in industry where we had to have masks, and we were actually shut down for 2.5 months, and it was a thing.
Paralyzing.
And I got pregnant in COVID too. So here I am juggling a pregnancy with COVID and business and blah, blah, blah. So what ended up coming from that was, again, like a hardship that was a blessing, because once my baby was born, I knew that I wanted to be her main caregiver. Yet, yes, I had a business that we survived COVID. We actually did really well. We had an 87% retention rate through COVID.
Wow.
Yeah, we did really well. And I just started to kind of shift things in my business because I wanted to be able to take care of my daughter full time, but I also wanted my business to grow. So we changed like models. Yeah. Yep. And I had to, because we'd just gone through a pandemic. I was a brand new mom, and we were kind of still in a pandemic in 21, through the end of 2021.
I was going to say, I'd argue probably through 22 even.
Yeah.
Maybe some of 23.
Yeah, for sure. And so I kind of restructured our model. We did a lot more personal training. We did a lot more lifestyle instead of just big group classes. And what I was able to do through that time, and I stayed home and cared for my daughter full time for the first 2 years of her life. I ran my business. We doubled our income, like our gross revenue pre-COVID. We doubled it, and we tripled our profit.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, and again, it was only due to the fact because I hit a rock bottom, and I was like, holy heck, like something's got to change, because I'm spinning out, because I'm on both ends. I'm being pulled in home, work. Yeah. Where am I in this? Like, wait a second. Like, I'm a person, and I want to, have alone time, and I'm going to spend the time on things that make me as a wife, as a mom, as a woman, as a business owner, as a child of God. Like, don't lose me in this, or else everything else falls apart. So again, I had to go back in terms of like what my core foundation was, what my priorities were, how I was going to quote unquote balance it all. And how I decided to do that upset some people when I changed the model of my gym, but it allowed me to be home with my daughter. And we went from me being the full-time employee to now we ended up at 5 full-time employees by the end of it. So again, that whole thought
You're like a
process of
business
like,
person. Look at you.
yeah. And then
Under adversity, you are bursting.
well, thank you.
What
Thank
was
you.
your college-
I
what was your
dial
college
in.
major?
I'm sorry, sir.
What was your college major?
Exercise science.
Okay.
Yeah.
In both, because you said you got your master's too, right?
Yeah. So actually, I went to Maryland undergrad for kinesiology,
Okay.
which some people don't know what it is, so I just say exercise science. And then I went.
Works the body. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I worked full time for a while, and then I went back to grad school for exercise physiology. So even more nerding out in terms of how the body as a whole works.
You got did you have a business minor? I mean, goodness.
No.
That's why I asked.
I'm so
No,
impressed.
I
Maybe
just got
you
I just got
versatile.
help. I just got help. I've learned since I quit drinking that
Mhm.
there are a lot of really smart people out there, and there's not really ever a new problem. Like most people, like something I go through, someone else has gone through, and so I've learned to
Right?
raise my hand and ask for help and be like, how did you get through this? So in 2018 I started working with mastermind groups, and that's how I acquired a lot of the business stuff, because I started my business in the fall of 2014, and then I absorbed a gym in 2016. So I bought their staff, their membership, and we got big enough where I was like, I don't know how to do this all on my own because I don't have a business degree. So I said I went and found like a mentor group to kind of help educate to help me learn what all that looks like. And I've just stayed in ones and kept kind of learning and growing and adapting. But all of that has come out from like, hey, there's pain here. And this is something that I learned when I stopped drinking too, is like, you're in pain, and it may be fair, it may be unfair, but there is a way out, and you have a choice to either stay in it and feel it and have it suck and complain and just or raise the hand and say, how do I get out of this? And nowadays, like, my pain tolerance is just much lower, and I don't want to stay in it. So the second I kind of get that this isn't really how I feel like I'm supposed to be living, I'm like, I got to do something to get out of it.
Well, I am been studying this program called Struggle Well, and it's actually a program for first responders, law enforcement, military, and it's a really good program. And you can purchase the book too, called Struggle Well. But it's talking about people that have had a lot of trauma, PTSD, and giving you real ways to kind of work through it. But one thing that I really love to take from that is the facilitator, when I did the training, said, are you going to be a warrior or are you going to be a victim? I mean, you can't change what has happened to us.
Right.
Which path are you going to go? And I love that, because warrior sounds so tough. If I'm going to be this, I'm going to take that path, or I'm going to just sit here and say, woe is me, and not have any progress. So it sounds like you took that warrior path. Like, you took it and you ran down it.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, once you have a bottom, like I had it, I know I was quote unquote young, but like the pain was so bad at age 29.
Oh, wow.
Like I never want to go back to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I don't need to, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was horrible. I got out of it. I made choices to get out of it, and I can make choices to get back into it, but then I'm responsible for that. And so it's like, I just don't ever want to be back in that place where I feel like my skin's crawling and I can't breathe like a couple times a week. So
yeah,
I love Shannon, when you said finding the authentic Shannon was a big turning point for you, and I really relate to that. And I kind of you and I talked about this a little bit before Cathy popped on, how finding the Lord for me and kind of figuring out the J of it all. It's easy to, although there may be circumstances that cast upon us, whatever they might be, um, you know, I think we all need to ask ourselves and do the self reflection that Kathy and I have talked about, and say, what is my role in my unhappiness?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that I have found with my experience is that when we don't know who we are, we can't live that because we don't know who that is. And discovering who that is,
Yep.
and embracing it, loving it, and saying, so when you said you were living in the most authenticity that you'd ever lived, and you made it sound like it was this light bulb moment, like this thing that just like was a switch for you. And I love that. And I like to say our story is our story is our superpower. And you've kind of you really kind of used it as a launching your stuff.
Yeah.
You used it as a launching point to say, okay, here's what I want to do, and here's how I want to provide self-care to others. And that's an important part of the healing process for any of us is the service side.
Absolutely.
It's kind of on the back nine, so to speak, of
Yeah.
our process, but it's an important part. And I think I've learned as much or more from the serving part of my process than I did the nuts and bolts, the feet on the ground, the in the mud part,
Yeah.
the more personally difficult stuff. I number one, because I'm so open to it. Before I was so shut down and so internal, so negatively and harmfully internal, that I didn't want to hear the stuff like you say. There's there's smart people out there, and there's no new problems. That everybody's nobody's creating new problems. I was so shut down that I wasn't paying attention to the things that could have been helping me. And it's like you're so, at least for me, I was so open, and I was so like, and I tell Kathy, like my turning point, I knew one of the signs for me hitting my positivity turning point was the physical world just appeared brighter to me. It wasn't actually brighter. The sun didn't suddenly turn up to number 11 on the brightness meter. It physically appeared brighter to me. And when we are as much us as we can be, and we live in that, you're not doing this. You're allowing the light to hit you. You're not shading yourself from the light. That's what it is. And for you to describe
One of your
the
fans.
authenticity side of things as a turning point for you, hits home for me.
Well, you know what's kind of cool, Jay? Like you and I are, and Shannon, maybe in your business too, because you work with people, is, when we talk to people like you and we get to peek into the window of your authentic self, gosh, it just gives you renewed, hope for mankind.
It's inspiring. Yeah.
You get to see a real person that's being real and is not afraid to say, here's what I struggle with, and here's what I'm doing, and it's connection, and it's just a good thing. So we appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, with that authentic, just give me 1 second. Just give me 1 second. I apologize. I have a 4-year-old at my office door. Just give me 1 second.
Got to deal with the fans, right?
If we're nothing else but real here at Eastern Shore Talk.
We're real.
We're live. We're live. We're recording live.
Recording live, but you got to be. She's a mom, and she's doing this for us from home, and
yep.
And you got to answer the 4-year-old,
for sure,
who is expressing her authentic self right now, right? Oh wait, we get a little peek. We should wave to her. Oh, there she goes. Oh, and excuse me, this is a princess. Hi. Hello.
Hi.
I have 4 sons, so I don't ever get to see this kind of princess-like stuff. So it's very good to meet a princess.
Yes, this is our typical attire if we're in clothes at home. Okay. Nice. Mommy's going to go talk to her friends. Yeah. Can you go ask Daddy for some help?
Wow, see what I'm missing? I'm missing the princess stage.
Hang on just 1 second. I'm sorry, guys. I'll get her.
No worries. We can keep talking. She really did have a lot of key phrases, Jay, that I really like. Like she said, my mess is my message. I love it. The more we hide, the more we hide our stuff, the more we suffer. I'm repeating your good one-liners here. Um, there never is a new problem. I love that. I think I probably need to tell myself that a lot. Like, I call them anchors. I believe in finding anchors in your life, because I know I run a company as well, and I certainly don't know everything. And I learn every single day something else, even though Jay already said our age. But I need those anchors, because I'm not a business person, so I need my finance person who's an accountant to really help me, or I
Yeah.
need this person who's gifted in this area to help me. I need all those people, but I think I need to pause and think, not this isn't a new problem. How did somebody do this before? I mean, if you even think about it, we could say, "Well, COVID was a new problem." Now, was it? There's been plenty of
Spanish flu.
plagues and whatever before.
And
Yeah.
it's funny, Shannon. There are not necessarily just one way out of a problem. You could talk to 10 different people and they probably might use 10 different approaches, because how we view our problem is different. Even if we go through the same experiences, there might be someone else who's gone through a childhood trauma like I have, but their road maybe look completely different, and they may have
Yeah.
had as much or more success in healing than I've had. So that's the wonderful thing. There's rarely one specific answer for that one problem. There are generally some things that can help most people, but there are different ways around things most of the time.
And something too that I'll say is, like, there's no shame in asking for help. Like, in general, like, a part of this persona that I used to wear, having it all
Yeah.
together, the perfect front, like, I really thought I was supposed to figure things out completely on my own. Like, if I couldn't make it work, if I couldn't figure it out, I would just try harder and push and push and grind and grind. And I mean, I did try to shove a square peg into a round hole more times than I can count. And I thought I was going to be a failure or coming up short or not worthy if I asked people for help, whether it be like with my faith or with my drinking or with my marriage or with my business. And that is a ton of pressure to put on yourself, to just think that, like, you're supposed to know and figure it out all by yourself. I'm not sure where I got that message from, but it's
lonely being on the
so
top of
lonely.
It's lonely because people look up to you, and for some reason then you get this, well, they're the strong person. Maybe I always have felt like the strong people don't think they need to check in on them. You check in on your strong friends. They need you because they are like feeling alone on top of that mountain that they're
Absolutely.
on. It's a mountain.
That's that expectation of leadership where, like you and I talk about it, Cathy, is in regards to first responders, like, who helps the helpers, and that can be, you can apply that to people in, whether they're business owners or government leaders or whatever, that they think, and in a PR way, yes, they're supposed to show strength and leadership in that regard, but isn't to me kind of one of the things we've kind of discovered along this path of the podcast isn't real strength, like you said, Shannon, being who you really are and having that, being able to connect, because like Cathy and I've said a million times, the one thing we all have in common is we've all have struggled or are struggling. And I don't, I look, there's always going to be judgment out there, always. But I
100%.
I just
and why do
it's hard to believe that the huge majority of people that if you share your story are not going to connect with you in some way, shape, or form.
And why do we think that people can't show their genuine self, right? Where do we come up with that nonsense? Like, even, gosh, I wouldn't want to be a politician for anything. And don't pay me any money in the universe to be a politician right now, because, people are always digging up something and looking, we're flawed,
all of us, every single one of us.
We've all not handled something correctly. We've all, we all have stories. So it's like, why do we have to present as professional and perfect all the time? Because sometimes we want to scream in the car. Sometimes I'm stuffing really horrifying food in my face.
You know what I think part of this, Cathy? And I've actually been thinking about this a lot lately in a different context. I think if we I
I'm
think
looking for a power cord again.
I think a lot of folks mistakenly think that there's a finite amount of value in the world. There's a tank of value, and that's all there is. There's no more than what is in that tank, and we all are trying to have some of that. And if we give some of ours away, if someone else has some, that means we have given ours away. And I think people are mistaken in the fact that if we give away what we perceive as our darkest scars and our worst parts of
Mm.
us, if we throw that out there to the world, we're then giving away part of that value that we don't get back. That's the perception in our own mind. At least with me, it was.
That's deep, Jay.
God, you know I'm a thinker. It's not always good, but I'm a thinker.
And we have to joke with one another and laugh because we need it. We need to laugh.
We all need to laugh, right? Like
We laugh at ourselves.
that's yeah, for sure. And I think also the people that judge enough to make noise, to hurt you, like
Mm.
they've got something going on there,
Yeah,
you
That's
know,
so true.
they got
because
to protest too much. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And it's like they've got their own pain and they're acting that way. They're judging, they're speaking out, they're trying to bring attention to you because they don't want to sit in their own funk.
yeah.
And so that's an easy lesson to say. It's harder to exist in, but it's the truth. Like I've just gotten to a point in my life where I want to be me. I want to be authentic, and I spend a lot of time on my faith and in prayer. And it's like I want to be the best version of who I think God put on this planet to be, and that's constantly growing and learning and sharing and being of service. And if that does not align with Joe Smith down the road, then I'm probably
Mm-hmm.
not supposed to be in Joe Smith's life right now.
That's
And,
true.
and maybe there'll be a better time for it. But
Yeah.
it's taken uncomfortability and pain to get there. But now, like, I keep my circle tight and I
Mm.
keep my circle small in terms of people that I take advice from as well.
That
Like,
is probably one of the smartest
yeah,
things,
So
yeah.
Shannon,
right?
did you tell me that you sold your gym?
I did. I did. I owned my gym for 10 years, and just this past
Wow.
fall in October, I sold it. And it was an amazing experience. I had incredible staff. I had incredible members, and I just felt like God was calling me to my next stage. I've got a young one, and just what was next for me. And I at the end of the day, like I just love helping people. I found that out in all the things that I enjoy. There's an aspect of help
Mhm.
there, and so now I'm a business mentor in some groups. I work as a subcontractor in a couple groups, and then I'm also I have my own coaching practice where I'm helping high achieving women not lose their identity in the day to day grind. Because I've worked with, I've been a person that has so much on their plate as a wife, as a mom, as a business owner, and it's easy to lose yourself. So now I help my clients understand simple systems, routines, and habits they can use so they don't wake up and look in the mirror 5, 10, 15 years down the road and be like, who is that person? And we take a whole person approach. So we work on uh, my protocol is called the SET protocol, stands for self, energy, and time. And so we dive in deep in each of those aspects to make sure that they don't get lost in the day to
Now,
day,
did
so
you
they
create
can be their
that?
self. I did, yeah,
Oh, wow, 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 wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I have a coaching program called the Whole Woman Reset, where I work with clients one on one. To first thing we do is talk about core values because they need to know who they are and what their foundation is, and everything else builds off of that. So we go core values, vision, and then we look at how they're spending their time, how they think they're spending their time, um, how they can get back more time, because there's a lot of ways that I can help clients get an extra 5 to 10 hours a week by simple small shifts. And then energy, how not just how they fuel their body. We talk about nutrition, we talk about fitness. I take them through all of that, But then we also talk about quality of sleep and not just quantity. And we talk about doing things to fill your own cup and having time and space for you so that you have that strong foundation that everything else builds off of, and you can show up as that best self for all the people that you care the most about.
So Shannon, I noticed a lot on some of the posts that I've seen of yours lately that mindset seems to be kind of a theme here lately with some of the
Absolutely.
stuff, it's funny. I really started noticing that back in my personal training days when I discovered that I was having to train my clients' mindset as much as I was having to train their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I've gotten away from the personal training side and I've kind of got into the self-care advocacy, mental health side of things, it carries over because what we think and feel of ourselves specifically propagates into everything we do. So I love that you're at least the posts that I've seen is very mindset is always in there somewhere. It's always
Yeah.
about, whether it's doing a routine enough that you're training your mind to be used to doing that thing that we see down the road is helping us.
Yeah. And the mind, like we have, I forget how many thousands of thoughts a day, but it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary.
And there's a lot of ones.
Yeah, exactly. And we're unaware consciously of so many of them. And so when you start to learn a little bit more about it and want to improve your life, like you have to go into your mindset because you have to catch yourself. Like you have to catch yourself with the bad talk, and then you have to amplify the good talk. And then you have to look for proof in your surroundings that you are the person that you want to be. Because also, as we know, like our psyche is built to look for threats just biologically speaking. Right. So it picks out the bad much more often than it picks out the good. So we have to actively work to like have gratitude,
Well, and they say, hold the thoughts, hold those grateful thoughts, hold on to them. And there's a, I always forget how many seconds, but there's like literally, whether it's 10 seconds or 15 seconds, it's somewhere in there. But if we hold on to whatever those thoughts are, there is proof in neuroscience that it rewires the brain. So when we're in those negative loops, we've got to consciously be able to stop and pause and regulate ourselves and try to get onto that positive thought process.
And Jay, what you probably see a bunch on my posts too is it comes down to grace for ourselves as well. Like I talk a lot about pressure that moms face, and this like thought process of like what a mom should be, what a mom should feel, how a mom should show up, all these things. And every mom's just trying to do the best that they can. They really are. Like, and having some grace with themselves that like there's a lot about motherhood that people don't talk about because it doesn't sound great, but we need to talk about it with each other.
We should do a mother segment one day, Jay, and we can bring her back on. You got the little version, I got the older version, but isn't it true? You're afraid of me. Well, I'm not afraid. I just say what it is out there because I wear everything on my sleeve. But you're afraid if you admit, that you're going to get the Mother of the Year award because there's somebody giving that trophy out.
No, but there's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of judgment, right?
Look, I'm a social worker. My husband is, but let me tell you, sometimes I am the captain of the Mother of the Year team. Let me tell you, I have failed miserably and continue to do so on different days. And sometimes I lose my stuff.
Well, yeah. Wow. You sound like you might be human. It's shocking how that happens.
Sometimes I want to get in the car and scream.
Sometimes I do get in the car and scream. Sometimes I pull up to the house. Sometimes I pull up to the house and I'm like, I'm about to go in. I'm in the car by myself and I'll just wait. I'll just be like, you know what? It's going to take 5 minutes. I'm just going to sit here. Yes, I know things that happen in there. Their house is being torn apart because we also have a young dog. He's like just a year old. So he's been a puppy while my daughter was like 2.5 and 3. So that was a poor decision on our part.
I think the funniest thing is my husband used to say, why does it take you so long at the grocery store? I'm like, because it's a long job. Grocery shopping takes a long, long, long time. He's like,
It's
I
my
think
me
you're milking
time.
You're like, I actually went and got a massage
I'm like,
afterwards, just to have a
I'm
little
gonna
space.
read that label. I'm gonna
Yeah.
get some
Yep.
Starbucks, and I'm gonna throw that trash away before I get home and anybody catches me.
There you go. You
Kathy,
know
you
it.
need to admit the real reason why you go to the grocery store for so long is you seek out strangers to talk to and find out their whole life story in the grocery store.
He may or may be right.
You know what? That
Shannon,
sounds
she
like a
goes on
nice thing to.
vacation and literally will go on vacation to foreign lands and find somebody and invite them to like family weddings and get invited to their family things
Yeah.
in Bermuda. It's uncanny.
I'm like something that gets on the bottom of people's shoe and they can't get rid of me. It's awful.
That sounds awesome. I mean, we clearly need to hang out more because you sound like an amazing person. I mean, come on.
She's like the International Chamber of Commerce. She's like just she's like the Chamber of Commerce for every place.
That is so funny. I
That's
love
awesome.
that. I'll take
That's
the
awesome.
title. I'll take. But I can give you I'm the crystal ball into the future of parenting.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you may want to sign up and talk to me.
Well, yes, absolutely, I do, and it's funny because, like I said, my daughter just turned 4, and I was talking to a mom friend of mine, and she was saying she's got kids that are like 7 and 8, and she was saying, yeah, like I kept asking, like, when does this get better? Like, 1, and then it's the terrible 2s, and
Which is false. It's
right.
3.
It's 3 exactly, and then she's like, and then we got to 4, and I was like, what is this? And people were like, oh, it's the effing 4s, and I was like, oh man, don't tell me this. And she's like, it's really at about 5. Like at 5 they really kind of get
Fair.
their own emotions somewhat figured out a little bit, and they're more self-independent. But
Then
yeah,
those
if
dopamine come around and things start to switch.
man, I know I can't. When she hits puberty, God help us, please.
So Shannon, before we switch gears and talk about what we've been watching, tell everyone out there how they can get in contact with you if they want your services.
Absolutely.
Don't
So
forget about this because I have one more question for her. But go ahead and tell me.
yes, so you can go to my website, coachshannonlogan.com, and it's the same as my Instagram handle, Coach Shannon Logan on IG, and just Shannon Logan on Facebook. Find me there, send me a message, shoot me a DM. I have a great newsletter on my website, as well as about 12 or 13 free resources, everything from sleep to workouts to goal setting. There's a bunch of free resources, but CoachShannonLogan.com and Coach Shannon Logan on Instagram.
I am going to check out your website. So, yeah, I was checking you out on Facebook, and you have a lot of digital content where you're giving advice or you're being human, and it's funny and cute. It was making me laugh.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
I'm gonna check out your website because you said there, so people can purchase your coaching services.
Yes.
I guess you would call it a life coach.
Yes, I do a consult with them first because I want to make sure that it makes sense to work with me. We're a good fit. But I do coach one-on-one. Absolutely.
So that's kind of like your business now, is that you're doing the one-on-one coaching. So if somebody really wanted that, they could go on your website and outreach to you.
Yes.
But if they just want to check some things out first, and maybe they weren't into one-on-one coaching, you have some free resources on the website.
Yes.
And you could go to one of your social pages and watch some of your content.
Yep. And I try to give value. Like I try to make it funny in content, but also try to give value in terms of like, I just did a whole post on, what has more protein than an egg, and gave like 10 sources and 10 things.
I was trying to find that. I was struggling with the link on that. Anyway,
go on Instagram. It's a little bit easier. Facebook is a little bit harder for reels, but I just upload.
All right, I'll go look on Instagram then. But I was wondering, before we get into the last segment, if you could give, like 3 good pieces of life coaching advice to listeners, what would they be? Just a quick hot top 3.
Figure out your sleep.
Oh, okay.
Figure out your sleep. I have a very easy, very, very simple bedtime routine that improves my clients' sleep quality, their deep sleep quality, by 41%. So what that means is that I feel like I got 9 hours of sleep on 7.5 hours of sleep. And everything is better when you're well rested. Your health is
Well, I
better.
wear my watch to bed and I
Yep.
track my deep sleep.
Yep.
And, if I'm not getting it, I'm like, I'm so cheated. I'm so mad. Like, I
Right.
try to, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's by age, right? Or is it by what like a normal amount of deep sleep would be a night, even if the watches are correct. But
Yeah, so I actually just did a presentation where I talked all about to my entrepreneur group about how sleep deprived people are. And it's so bad because it's over a third of the U.S. population that the CDC has actually made it a problem, because the average American gets less than 6 hours of sleep a night, which causes a whole bunch of other health issues and increased anxiety and increased depression and all slew of things. And it actually, our economy would be making an extra 226 billion with a B billion a year if people were more well rested. So it's not as complicated to fix as people think. People are like, oh, I have to like go to bed at 7 and sleep till 10. It's not that complicated. I have a sleep guide on my website. Shoot me a DM and I'll walk you through my process. It's very easy. So sleep is huge because everything is better with sleep. Everything is better. And then what are your values? Like, what are your core values, and how often do you review them, go back to them, talk about them, write them out, live them, check in with them? I have 5 to 6. I help my clients build out their 5 to 6, and then we have them go over them weekly. And it's a nice activity. It's not like I have to review them. It's like I'm going to sit down with a cup of coffee and read my values, because that will bring up everything else about who you are and what to do with your life, as much as, do I buy pizza at the grocery store or veggies, all the way to, do I put my kid in hockey or do I put my kid in swim? Like once you have values figured out, as my mentor says, values and vision drive every decision. It just makes things a lot clearer, and your mental clarity improves because you don't have as much decision fatigue. So get some sleep, find your core values, and find your network. Find your network of people that know you, that love you. You don't have to have a lot of them. It can be 2, maybe 3, but that you don't have to be fake in front of, and pour into those relationships. Because life comes at you, sometimes good, sometimes bad. But if you have your tribe to walk things through with, you don't ever have to go through anything alone.
I love it, and it can be small. It doesn't have to be big. And what I find too, I agree with all of these things. And I would say, let's add a fourth. Let's add eating.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
5, 6 too. But anyway, these people that are in your network, I would argue, and see what you have to say about this, that they probably have some similar values as you do, because when we're hanging with, or at least I find when I'm with people that don't have the same values as me, I'm a little keyed up, like if
like a little sandpaper feeling, you start to rub.
Trust is a big value for me, and if I'm with people that somebody I can't trust, or doesn't have the same
like-mindedness,
I mean, we could be, I mean, people can be different. They don't have to be the same as me exactly, but I can feel it. I can, like you said, the rubbing.
So Shannon, there was a couple things that you said there that hit home for me, and it's funny how you talked about sleep, because Cathy, you know how my mind works. And the other day I was like, I'm going to Google what's the most important activity for self-care. And when I did that, they break it down into mind, body, soul. They break it down, and the number one for physical was sleep, the most important. And this is interesting, Cathy. When I Googled what is the favorite self-care activity for Americans, guess what number one is? It surprised me big time. In 35 out of the 50 states, this was the number one favorite activity for self-care.
Some form of TV.
Nope.
Eating?
No. Quite surprised me, because I would have
yeah.
Food?
Nope.
Okay, sleep is the obvious one.
Nope. Journaling.
What?
Journaling.
Wow.
In 35
That's
of the 50 states, that was number one for people's favorite form of self-care. I
Wow.
mean, that's great, but
I
I'm
I
surprised
wouldn't
that
have
was
thought
it.
that. Yeah,
Sleep would
I would
definitely be my favorite. 100%. 100%.
That's your favorite and most important.
massage.
That's probably one the cause and effect. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I help my clients with energy and in our set formula, the first thing we do is sleep. And I say to them, look, like I talk a lot about, we're going to work a lot on sleep. We're going to work a lot on nutrition, and we're going to work a lot on fitness, because they all have a direct impact on energy. However, there are people that live a long life and never exercise. It happens. There are people that never walk into a gym. You can go 30 days plus without eating. I don't recommend it,
That would
but
not work.
but you can. If you like, sleep is used as a torture mechanism because it's that powerful. Like, our bodies will shut down after 3 to 4 days without sleep. We will literally go mad and our systems start to shut down. So with that in mind, like, let's tackle sleep, and it'll make the rest of that stuff
Makes
much more
sense.
impactful.
That makes sense.
So before we get out of here, let you
You're
go,
quite the
Shannon.
guide. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure.
What have you been watching lately, movies, TV, streaming wise? Even if it's something you've been watching with your daughter that you've really enjoyed.
I just got done the series Younger on Netflix.
Mm.
It was a show. It came out in like 2015. It had 7 seasons. It is about a 42-year-old that pretends to be 26. And I started watching it just because it looked like silly. It's got like 25-minute episodes. It's short. And at first I was like, this is really stupid. And then it was just making me laugh. So I kept watching it, and I fell in love with it. It's hysterical. It's got a really cute plot line. She falls in love with a 26-year-old guy. She gets a job, and she has to pretend that she's 26. Meanwhile, she's got an 18-year-old in college, and she leads this like alternate life. And then it's all about how she manages it. And eventually they find out. It's awesome. I loved it. It was easy. It was not overly complex. I could watch one episode before bed and not be up super late binging again for sleep. So yeah, it was just a fun one that I watched.
Now I have to be nosy. What are we watching with littles these days?
So interestingly enough, we typically don't watch a ton of TV in our house. However, she has been wicked sick. So she was home from preschool for 2 full weeks because she got a really bad bout of the flu, and then got then got bronchitis on top of it. And she had pneumonia over Christmas. So she was just, so she's been watching much more than we typically do. We watch Bluey or Pepper Pig. Daniel Tiger is a big one as well. What else is there out there? Frozen, man. We watched Frozen probably a dozen times while she was homesick. Just
it's funny to see.
Goodness.
Because I miss the kid shows. I do. I love the kid shows. They were a good diversion for me, from the adult world.
Yeah.
Yeah. People don't watch the same ones that they used to when my kids were little, but anyway, I miss them.
Yeah, they're cute. Man, it's crazy how like glued in she gets to it though. It's kind of scary. I'm like, this is why we don't watch a lot of TV, because you are a zombie. You're just unaware of anything else happening around you. So
what about you, Kath?
Look, I'm so proud on the J meter. The J meter, I have got to be like just hitting the top of the J Watson meter right now, because I took myself to the movie theater 2 nights in a row over
Valentine's Day. Yeah,
I know. I am on the J meter, just ding 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 ding, and I watched Saturday Night Live, the music
all
show,
the specials,
and all the specials. So I am like, I'm proud of myself. I'm just saying. So I watched Paddington at the movies, and I watched Captain America. That's what we did on Valentine's Day. My husband and I went by ourselves to Paddington. I don't know what that says about us, if we just like were yearning for a simpler time. I don't know, but
you're about to be an empty nester, so you're trying to like hold on to that.
Yeah, I'm holding on.
Paddington era.
I know. Holding on. Yeah. But anyway, I enjoyed both movies.
Nice.
I saw Captain America Friday night, and I liked it. It did knock my socks off. But I've learned to have lower expectations with Marvel because Marvel had such the expectations were so high back in the Endgame and Infinity
Yeah.
War and
No,
that whole
yeah, we're not
yeah.
there.
But it was fine.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I thought the end credit scene was kind of useless. It didn't really say anything or do anything.
Listen, Jay, I'll tell you that it didn't. I was excited because, and I always forget the actor's name. Is it Anthony? The Captain America.
Anthony Mackie.
Yeah. So the boys had on, what was the race? Daytona or whatever.
Yep.
The other day. I don't even know what day it was, Sunday maybe. And I was like, wait, there's Captain America. So Captain America was the one that says, gentlemen, start your engines.
Yeah.
And he had his cool cap jacket on. I'm like, yeah, Cap, I just saw you. We were just hanging out in the movie theater. Now he's telling Daytona to start. Yeah.
And I watched the SNL stuff too. I liked the musical concert way better than I liked the special that was Sunday. It was kind of flat for me. You and I talked about it briefly the other day, where like we grew up on SNL. We're of that era, and
Oh, I love some SNL. Don't you worry. I mean, I watched a good amount of it too.
for me, it was always, especially when I first started watching it, it was like it was on late at night, and I wasn't really supposed to watch it because it could be a little bit spicy. So it was like I watched it as much for that as I watched it for the comedy. So
Yeah.
and I can't even tell you the last time I actually sat and watched any length of an episode of SNL, probably within the past 10 years at all, except for if there was a musical guest that I really liked and I wanted to catch them singing or whatever. Um, I liked the red carpet before the show the other night where the people that were cast members were telling stories. I liked that. But the skits that they did, for the most part, sure, it was some nostalgia and they kind of you harken back, but most of them weren't really that funny to me.
Mm-hmm.
I liked, I just think it's really cool how over 50 years, I mean, they're
Oh,
responsible for so many
Yeah.
comedians and actors,
Yeah.
and it's like, how the heck did they do it? But I just felt like, there's a lot to say about Hollywood types. People have there's a lot of judging about like we think we know them. We don't
Yeah,
know them.
exactly.
But I
Mhm.
thought it was really cool to see their personalities come out and how they cared for one another, and you could tell that they were so sentimental about it. So I liked the connectivity, the people part of it, and I thought that was really cool. It was good to see.
I liked on the red carpet when the newer cast members would talk about how exciting it was to meet like Steve Martin and Eddie Murphy
Yeah.
and like the OGs that
Yeah.
like really created SNL back in the day. That was
And
cool.
And I'm gonna tell you what, there's some OGs that were looking good. I was like, I'll take whatever they're having. Like, and I was like, what? What are you doing? How does your body look that good? I mean,
Mhm.
there's some of it, obviously. Maybe she has some different self care, but
Some
hey, look,
artificial
A little.
intelligence.
where whoever she's got is got it.
Get
They
it.
got the sound
Get
of you. Yeah, good stuff.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, hey, wait! Saturday night celebrate at 50, and we're celebrating 50. How about
Yeah,
that?
there you go. SNL 50 years and Easter Shore Talk 50 episodes.
50 episodes. We align.
Yeah, we'll be doing a 1-year anniversary special coming up the middle of March. So about
Fantastic.
a month now will be our
Fantastic.
1-year anniversary special. And Shannon, I think I've talked to you about this. We're doing the Self-Care Expo
Mm.
in September. We're
Okay.
shooting for September. So even though you're not from the shore, there are people coming from all over. So you don't have
Okay,
to be
excellent.
from this area. We would love to have you.
Thank you.
Once everything, I think you're in the Self-Care Network on our website, I believe.
I believe I am.
And if you're not, I will make sure that you are. But I believe
Okay.
that you are. So yeah, everybody go check out Shannon on Instagram or Facebook or at her website if you want her help. And
CoachShannonLogan.com, right?
You got it. Yes,
and
ma'am.
the same thing.
Shannon with 2 N's.
Yep.
Shannon with 2 N's and an O-N.
Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll take care. Catch you next time. See you
Thank
guys.
you.